Still breaking out even though you tried every serum out there? What if your skin isn't broken? It's just burned out. Here's the truth: stress may be the secret saboteur of your skin. And spoiler alert, it's not about more products. It's actually how you think and feel in your skin. Now, you're not crazy, you're not vain, and it's not all in your head. I'm Dr. Mina. I'm a board certified dermatologist, and I'm going to unpack the actual science behind psychodermatology and why your emotions literally show up on your skin. This is my channel, The Skin Rail, where I break down real skin information and education so that you can make informed decisions about your skin health. Sound good? Let's get into it. This is my weekly recap episode where I break down my key takeaways from my most recent episode. This week, my guest was Dr. Keira Barr. She is a phenomenally trained, board certified dermatologist, and now she has taken a pivot to psychodermatology. If you want to hear the full episode, I will link it at the end of this short one. When I say the word psychodermatology, your first thought may be, oh my gosh, I do not need psychodermatology. It is not all in my head. The term psycho just has some negative connotations for so many people. But really, psychodermatology is just the intersection between dermatology and mental health. It is really hard to parse these two apart for so many things. So much of what we do in dermatology has such a strong psychological, sociological component that even though we don't call it psychoderm, it is there. Trust me. Our skin flares when we're stressed. We all have probably experienced this when we're going through a stressful time in our life. And guess what? All of a sudden we start breaking out. And it's like, wow, I'm being kicked when I'm down. I am breaking out, which is stressing me out even more than I already was. But here's the thing: this isn't just in your head, it's actually biology, and our skin and our brain and our nervous system. It is all connected. They're actually twins from the same embryologic layer called our ectoderm. And so our skin has its own stress response system, just like our brain and our nervous system. And when you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or emotionally fried, which in this day and age in our busy society that we have, it's hard not to, our skin is going to react. So, yes, our emotions do show up on our skin. This is biology. It's not woo. And believe me, I am such a pragmatist in so many ways. And I really had a hard time believing in this stuff for so many decades. I was very factual and scientific, but there really is science behind this. Now, yes, has it been hijacked by some people who really don't have appropriate medical training? Of course. And that is why I really love that there are medical professionals who are delving into this, that in this day and age, we have been able to cure so many diseases and conditions that really what we are struggling with now in society is these chronic conditions that are more based on lifestyle and diet and our epigenetics rather than straight genetics. And so understanding not just the pathophysiology, the biology of these conditions, but also understanding how our nervous system, our mental health, all of this plays a role. It's so important, and we can't just ignore it anymore. And certainly see this in dermatology. Now, in my real skin method to gorgeous skin, R is for reveal. And that is because our skin is a window to our inner health. And this is so important to understand that when our skin is reacting, when it's flaring, it is trying to tell us something. And it's important that we listen to that. And Dr. Barr talks about being curious, wondering, what's going on? Maybe taking a minute to pause and understand what could be happening deep inside our bodies that are being reflected and manifested on our skin. Now, I love how Dr. Barr talks about the nice network, and she says it's basically this four-lane highway going on in our body, and there's an intricate feedback loop between all of these, and that involves our nervous system, our hormones, our immune system, and our skin, and it all forms this connection. And when one is off and one is hijacked by stress or negative emotions or a negative feedback loop, guess what? They all see that, right? It's like if there's a car accident on a highway, the ramifications aren't just there. It goes potentially miles and miles and miles. And so this highway, it's all connected. And it's time we think about medical conditions and skin conditions in this framework and not just here's a prescription, here's a pill. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not just saying think happy thoughts and you can cure cancer. There's a role for medicines and therapies for sure. And the reason we call medicine medicine and medical therapies medicine and alternative medicine is because it has been studied and tested and validated. And that is so, so important. But in this day and age, as we are able to fight so many conditions, we now are living longer and longer than ever. But we have to realize, are we living lives that we want, right? I don't just want to live long to live long. I want to actually live a high quality life where I am functional and contributing and mentally aware, right? So now the trick is, how do we pair the medical knowledge that we have with an understanding of how our nervous system, our hormones, and our immune system are connected? Because guess what? All our organ systems, they are connected, and it's time we stop focusing very piecemeal on different organs and realize they all work together. I love the story that Dr. Barr shared about a gentleman who had really severe rosacea, and he had seen, I think he said, like 8 dermatologists, and he had been given prescriptions and had procedures, and nothing really was helping him. And understand this, rosacea, it's a chronic skin condition, and it can be really frustrating for patients. It can be very stigmatizing. And people sometimes even think they have an alcohol or drinking problem because of some of the stigmata of rosacea. But once Dr. Barr sat down and started working with this gentleman, she helped him connect the dots on how stress was causing his rosacea to flare and helped him work through how to manage that to make his rosacea better. So again, prescriptions, procedures, these things, they can help for sure. And there is a role, but it's also important that we delve a little bit deeper, especially for these chronic conditions that flare and that we can't cure. One of the things I love about the skin is you can be a detective when you see a certain rash appear or a skin condition or certain skin findings. And it's your body actually saying, hey, I'm not okay here. Something is going on. And instead of saying, ooh, how do I cover it? How do I get rid of it? Really, what we need to think is, what does my body need right now? And most of the time, the body is not asking for another product or procedure. It's actually asking for safety to feel safe. And in this day and age, usually that stress is not from true, I'm about to die, I'm being chased by a tiger kind of stress. It's more of this chronic stress that we experience every day. It could be things like driving to work. It could be getting a nasty email or it could be just looking in the mirror and really the hateful, ugly things we tell ourselves that we would never tell another stranger, but we have no problem voicing that to ourselves. All of that matters. All of that is reflected in your skin, believe it or not. It's not just woo. I love some of the suggestions Dr. Barr gave for how you can really combat this. And everyone's got to find their own way and figure out their own triggers. And you can start by finding maybe one thing in your day that stresses you out or that triggers you. And the first step is really just recognizing that you're having that feeling. And then the second step is to figure out how to regulate your emotions. I talk about this all the time with my kids. And when I realize I too, as a 45-year-old woman, need to regulate my emotions. If I want my 10 and 11-year-old to do that, I've got to do it as well. And it can be so hard because in the moment when we want to react, we are not using the part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. We just want to react. So recognizing it, pausing, taking a breath, and learning how to respond instead of react is so important in controlling our nervous system. And yes, this does have downstream effects on our skin. Dr. Barr also talked about somatic skincare, which is something I had never heard of, to be honest. And basically, somatic just means touch. And I know some people do this reflexively without even knowing that they're doing it. They just enjoy the luxury of their skincare routine, whether it's using different products, maybe it's an at home device that they're doing, whatever it is. And I really am pretty basic and minimal with my skincare. And I just kind of want to get it done and I do it really quickly and hurried. But maybe what I need to do is take 5 minutes and slow down and actually be in the moment when I'm doing my skincare. I know for some people, putting on an LED face mask is really therapeutic for them because that's when they journal or they meditate or they're just sitting in silence and feeling the warmth and thinking kind of positive thoughts, right? Like all of that is beneficial above and beyond what the LED mask may or may not be doing for your skin. So, thinking of your skincare as kind of a holistic practice that you do, a few moments of calmness. And again, I'm not advocating for a complex routine at all, but maybe just like with eating, we should just slow down and actually be in the moment when we're doing it instead of just rushing through it as another chore we have to do in the day. Lastly, I wanted to spend a few minutes about reframing. Now, I am a 45-year-old woman and perimenopause is real, ladies. Yes. And finally, people are talking about it. I am so excited about that. I feel like this segment of our lives as women has just been largely ignored. It's been feared. It's been something that we're like embarrassed to admit we're going through. And I love that people are finally talking about it. We're finally looking into it and realizing while this may be a natural part of aging, how do we maximize our health through this period? Because to be honest, what's not natural is how long we live in a postmenopausal state. So it's important that we understand this phase of a woman's life, that we don't just stop being valuable people after our reproductive years. In my Real Skin method, I talk about love. L is for love in real. And that's important to love our skin and to love where we are. We may not love everything about it. And let's be honest, not everything is great about aging, but it's important we reframe aging. Instead of thinking about anti aging, let's think about pro aging. Let's think about the steps we can do to maximize our health in every season of life. If we're honest, it wasn't like our 20s were all perfect and amazing either, right? I know I was super stressed about getting into medical school and then being in medical school and starting residency. I had zero money. I had a ton of debt. I wasn't married. I was stressed if I would ever meet Mr. Right. So when you really think about it, it wasn't like that age was perfect either. And to be honest, I wouldn't go back to it. And just like perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, there are going to be challenges with that as well. But we need to reframe how we think about aging. It's not the end of the world. How do we maximize it? And again, this is science. There have been studies to show that people who look at aging in a positive way are healthier, fewer chronic diseases, and they live longer, sometimes on average 7 years longer, which is huge. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to live a long life, I want it to be a high quality life. I want to maximize my health span for sure. And one of the ways to do that is to realize that how we take care of our inner body is reflected in our skin. And there is intimate connection between our mental health and our skin health. I would love to know what thoughts you have after hearing this episode, maybe a little untraditional for me and my podcast. Definitely DM me, send me your comments on social media. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you next week, friend.